Hello. So the A330, the Headwind A330 Airbus in Microsoft Flight Simulator has been updated. I thought it might be fun to go and take it for a flight and see how we get on. It's a long time since I've used any of the Airbuses, so you'll excuse me if I make any mistakes along the way. Hopefully we won't make any absolutely disastrous or dangerous mistakes. So anyway, we're going to get in the cockpit and get things fired up. So here's Control 8. And goes overhead. We turn the batteries on, so press both battery switches and things will come on around the cockpit. We turn the external power on if it's available, so there we go. We turn the strobes to auto down here. We turn the nav and the logo to setting number 2, which we have now done. APU section, we turn the master switch on and the start switch for the APU. Then we turn the crew supply to on, and then in the sign section, emergency exit light to armed. So that is over here. No smoking to auto. And then we go and set the inertial navigation systems to nav mode. So that all 3 systems go to nav. Okay, then we can go to the cockpit view and we can turn some brightness up on some screens that are busy booting up. So we've got the knobs here for the left hand screens. We've got the knobs over there for the right hand screens. And in the center, these 2 knobs here are for the engineering ECAM screens. Okay, so my memory is serving me well so far. So we're going to go and program our flight. It probably will be a fright. FMGC on the MCDU. It says GPS primary lost. We can ignore that and go to init. Now we are flying from Norfolk to Laguardia. So KORF to KLGA. KORF to KLGA. So you'll immediately recognize this if you've seen previous videos. We're going to go and do the runway 31 expressway approach at Laguardia just for a bit of fun, and because, you know, why not try and land an enormous plane there. Flight level, we're going to go to 20. No, east is odd, so yeah, 25,000 feet, which is flight level 250. Absolutely correct. Well done, aeroplane. We go sideways. We can put in the 0 fuel weight automatically. We can put in block fuel to whatever we've actually got. So 11.3 is far more than we will need. So 11.3. Drop that into block fuel, and everything lights up. Then we can go over to the flight plan and say how we are leaving Corf. We are not using a standard instrument departure, but we can at least put in the runway direction. So we are going to be using runway 05, which is correct, and we will just insert that with no SID. And then for the arrival at Laguardia, we are going to land on, if we scroll this up, we want RNAV runway 31X. There it is, RNAV 31X, which is the expressway approach. And we are going to be using the Corrie 4 standard approach route. So that's that done, and we're not going to be using a transition to get into it. So insert that into the flight plan. So if we go and look at the flight plan now and scroll through it, we will hopefully see if there are any discontinuities along the way, and there is between Proud and Patchu. So that's the end of the standard approach route and the beginning of the approach into the airfield. So we, in the Airbus, we use clear. We don't pull the waypoints up like we do in a Boeing. It doesn't work that way in an Airbus. Okay, so that's all looking good so far. Now, after our initial departure, before we get to Eno, so let's just have a look at this on the map. So there's Eno. I want to put a waypoint in front of it of SWL and J Hall. So if we go SWL and drop that on top of Eno, it should insert it. There it goes. And in front of SWL I want to put J Hall. JHALL. Excellent. It worked. Always nice when things work, isn't it? So you never quite know when you've got a new version of an aeroplane if anything might be broken, so nice to know. Okay, so then we go to the performance page. Now we've got the basics of the flight plan sorted out. We can put in our flap level. We use flaps 1 for takeoff. We're not going to bother with any of the other stats. We can go and get this to calculate the V-speeds though. If we just press twice on each one, it calculates it, puts it in the scratch pad, and then we drop it into the field. So we get a rotate speed of 122 knots, which seems incredibly low, but then I've probably got an empty aeroplane. Next phase of flight, we can just check through these quickly. I don't think we need to change anything, to be honest. We can put the QNH in of the arrival airport, so should we go and find that out right now? Not that we're going to need it. There's Laguardia. Let's go and make some room for these panels. If we go and pull up the weather for Laguardia, QNH is going to be... Okay, it's not giving us it. Unless I'm being absolutely blind here. Oh, there it is, sorry, 1002 or 2958. So this is a European aircraft, so I'm guessing it's going to be hectopascals. So it's 1002. And temperature at LaGuardia is 15 degrees centigrade. Okay. So that's pretty much done. The next thing we do is the MCP, the Master Control Panel. So this is all going to be on managed mode anyway, so we don't really need to worry, but we can put our target altitude in of 25,000 feet for the climb out, which is all good, and we can set that as managed mode, so we push the knob in towards the aircraft. We press the B key to calibrate the QNH for the local. Oh, look, that's using inches. Now it's using hectopascals. That's interesting. I wonder if that would come back to bite us on the MCDU. It looks like this is doing real time for the alignment, which is interesting. We'll wait and see what happens once the engines are up and running. Or I wonder if you can control that via the tablet. Let's go and have a look. See what's in the realism section. So if we go and fire the tablet up and have a look in here. Sorry, it's in the cog, isn't it? Realism, maybe? Add as align time. Yeah, so we'll set that to instant just to speed that up a bit for us today. And then by the time we look around, hopefully it will have... Oh, no, it still hasn't aligned. Maybe it has to say that before you do it for it to work. Anyway, by the time we get ready, you know, we've got more to do yet. So Control 8 takes us back overhead. Seatbelts to on at this point. So the seatbelt sign is, indicator is here. External power to off because the APU will be up and running by now. And then we can perform pushback. So in the A320 it has a function, in the A330, because it inherits from the fly-by-wire A320, you have got some pushback functionality that is hidden in here somewhere. Here it is, and we can enable the pushback system and confirm, and we can call the tug and it will be immediate, and we can... Don't use a controller input because that would just be annoying. And we can say go backwards please, and we can increase speed on that and give us a turn at the same time. So if we look outside, we can see the pushback is happening incredibly slowly, which gives us some time. It is moving, trust me. Just very, very slowly. But that gives us a moment or two just to go and get the engine started. So engine goes to start. Start you have to go and turn the beacon on first actually, so we go back overhead. Let's go and turn the beacon light on, which is that, and then we can go and turn the fuel pumps to on. And the APU bleed goes to on, and then we can start the engines. So I've already got the starter on, so engine number 2 can come up first. While that's happening, let's go and expedite this pushback a little, shall we?
Once again, we'd like to welcome you on board. Your safety is our top priority, so we appreciate a few minutes of your attention
There we
while
go.
we demonstrate the safety features of this aircraft. You can follow along with the safety information card in your seatbelt.
I've actually released the parking brake this time, which will help enormously. Oh, we can't lift the... I'm sure that those used to lift up on the 320, but anyway. So how's that engine doing? It's going to start engine number 1 as well now. It's all slowly coming back to me. It's so long since I've used the Airbus, it's crazy. So once the engines have come up, you can see, there we go, it's just ignited on engine number 2. Engine number 1 is happy now and available for use. Just going to go and close that. So we'll stop the pushback at this point. Re-engage the parking brake. And both engines seem to be running now. So this can come back to norm. APU bleed can go to off now. And the master switch for the APU can go to off because cross-feeding happens automatically in the Airbus, so we don't have to cross-feed over to the engines. That's fine. So taxi, flaps to takeoff position. So we said setting number 1, which I've just done on my quadrant. So you will see the flaps travelling on the indicators here. The nose wheel steering. Now I can never remember where this is on this aircraft. I'll probably find it afterwards. The ground spoilers pull up on the ground spoiler lever. We need to do predictive wind shear as well while we're here. The ground spoilers. Release the parking brake and we're good to taxi. So we can also go and set the nose light to taxi, which is good, and ease the throttles forwards. We're only just going around the corner here. Okay, so has the parking brake released? Have we got... What's going on here? I'm just going to check that the parking brake's actually working properly. So it's off. That's good. Why are we not moving? Okay, bear with me a moment. I'm just going to go and check something away from the simulator. Okay, so I've just had a double check of the controls. They're all working. So I think what's going on here, yeah, tug is attached. So this is obviously a feature of this pushback system. So we remove the tug and we put the parking brake back on before we run over the tug. And we turn the pushback system back off. Okay, So that was to do with the pushback system. That's why we couldn't taxi. In its head, we still had the tug attached to the front of the aircraft. So we come off the parking brake now. We should find we can taxi out, and indeed we can. So that's the first slip up. It's to do with obviously that custom taxi system, nothing to do with the actual aeroplane. So you will notice as well with the big jets, the nose wheel steering is servo controlled. So you might move your steering quickly, it won't react directly to it. It takes time for the servos to travel, so you have to keep that in mind, and you have to taxi very carefully because of that. Okay, so we're getting the air soon, just pulling round to the runway. So on the taxi out, we don't have much to do. We do when we get to the runway. So yeah, you can see that servo delay there. You just have to be mindful and steer the aircraft very methodically. Okay, so once we get to the runway, we're going to go and turn the landing lights to on, move the throttle to toga, and begin our takeoff roll. So far, this new version of the 330 looks really, really nice, but we haven't really done anything with it yet. We're about to find out what happens, aren't we? Just get straightened up on the runway. Haven't done a very good job of that so far. Okay, so nose light goes to take off and the landing lights go to on, and we accelerate to toga power. Go through the takeoff mark, so nose up, gear up, hold the runway direction, flaps up, flaps to the CL, throttle to the CL detent, auto throttle on. There's a huge rain cloud coming. It'd be interesting to see if that's modelled nicely. So autopilot on, we're in managed mode, so the aircraft should get on with the flight now and manage the flight. I think it's pretty much a straight out departure. We haven't got a standard instrument departure, remember. So if we go and look behind us, see there's the airfield. So we're on autopilot now, which is, this is the world of the Airbus, isn't it? It's automation. Here comes the rain. That's modelled really nicely. We have a master caution. What's that for? We don't have TCAS on. Again, that's rustiness, and I've disregarded my own instructions now, so I'm not following them. So that comes on. That goes to TARA. Just check the lights. We've got the nav and the logo lights on. We've got the nose light can go to off now. Below 10,000 feet we keep the landing lights on. (18,000 feet is the transition height in the US, so we keep the QNH until we get to 18,000, and then we go to standard QNH. So we're just waiting for 10,000 feet as we go ripping through this rain cloud. let's extend the range on the EFIS display. The ground spoilers don't need to be armed anymore. Coming up towards 8,000 feet. It's all very straightforward at the moment. I wonder if they've modelled the binnacle compass. No, they haven't. In the this is modelled in the Phoenix Airbus. You can pull this panel down and there's a binnacle compass hidden in the bulkhead. So coming up towards 10,000 feet, so we're preparing to switch off the landing lights, so we're just waiting for 10,000 feet and the landing lights can go off. So the next marker for us to worry about is 10,000 feet. You can see the aircraft is now accelerating automatically. Having gone through 10,000 feet, it was maintaining 250 knots below 10,000 feet. That's all working nicely. Shall we let the passengers out of their seats? So the seatbelt sign was there. I can turn that off. We've got some aircraft ahead of us. But they are above and below us, so no need to worry about them. We're still being rained on. I do hope we're going to see something along the way and not just be stuck in rain the whole way. We may need to look at a weather report of Laguardia and choose a different runway. We may not be able to do the Expressway if it's shrouded in thick rain like this, or heavy rain I should say. No such thing as thick rain. Okay, coming up to 13,000 feet. This is half the reason I don't fly the Airbus very often, because it is so hands-off. It leaves you with very little to do. So on climb out, when I said throttle to CL detent, this is what I meant. So I moved the throttles. I've got an Airbus quadrant on my desk, which made it very easy to do this because there is a notch in their travel. But you align the notch on the handles with the CL detent, and that means to the aircraft that it can control the throttles. So they don't move like a Boeing aircraft would. The throttles are an electric switch basically in an Airbus. So anything below CL down to 0 is you setting the throttle level. But when it's on CL, it means the aircraft can get on with it itself. So just coming up to 16,000 feet, keep an eye on that. And we'll switch over to standard QNH very soon. So you can see on that, on the second EFIS display, the co-pilot display, it pays to leave that zoomed in, so you do see the path of other aircraft that are nearby. Just coming up to 18,000 feet, so we've got 17.5 just coming up. So when we get to 18,000, we're just going to go and pull this knob to get the standard barometric pressure, which is done, and it's synchronized both sides. We don't have to pull it both sides, it's all one system. It's saying ice has been detected, so we are going to go overhead and look at the ice prevention measures. So we can go wing, engines and probe heats. I think we're already through it, to be honest. Yeah, we're coming out of the cloud now. Hurrah! So we are going to see some fluffy clouds along the way. So not such a major problem after all. Let's go and turn those off. Ice is not being detected anymore. Oh, no, it is being detected as soon as we touch the cloud. That lights up. It'll probably go back out again in a moment. But that being said, we are still in the cloud at the moment, so we'll go turn it back on just for the moment until we've climbed out of that cloud. So let's go and have a look outside. It's a big old thing in it, a big old lump. The 3D model is very nice. Okay, let's go and turn the anti-ice back off. So we're just above that layer of cloud now. Still climbing, we've got a couple of thousand feet to go. I think we are going to be dipping into that cloud again along the way. So let's have a look at the route. So, do we have any restrictions? Above 24,000 Eno, and we'll be at 25,000, which is perfect. We'll leave everything on managed mode and see if the aircraft manages the descent. Turn off the tracking on a little nav map so it can see where we are. The map's a bit busy, isn't it? So if we zoom out a little bit more, it's a bit cleaner. Right, I'm going to leave it flying along for a few minutes, and I'm going to go and grab a cup of coffee. Although I might wait and see what happens when we hit this cloud if I have to put the anti-icing back on. Maybe I'll leave it on.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again from the flight deck, Captain speaking. We just reached our cruising altitude for the flight. As we begin to settle in, I do want to remind you to please keep your feet elbows clear from the aisle as the flight attendants will be coming through the cabin with galley carts shortly. Also, one more reminder to please refrain from congregating with the front galley where the flight deck door is located. Thank you.
So as you can see, the interior is not modelled. And that is not unusual. It's a bit of a shame, but obviously the flight deck is modelled quite wonderfully there. Yeah, I think it's wise to keep the anti-icing on because we keep dipping into these little bits of cloud along the way. We wouldn't want any disasters to happen, would we? So let's turn that out to 150 miles, or sorry, 160, 320. So there we can see Laguardia in the distance. So it will soon be within 160 miles. So I'll turn that back down to 160 and then you'll get to see it arrive. Okay, I'm going to go make a coffee. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we've picked up some radio communications along the way, which is great, and we're in thick cloud. Wonderful. And outside, out of tank fuel transfer, that's all good to know. So we've got -1 true air temperature, yeah, so it's a good job that we've got the icing on then. So we're in the middle of the soup, basically. So let's go and detune that comm radio, shall we? Nav radios. No, we don't want to do it. We want the comm radios down here. So let's just, yeah, swap it for anything. Doesn't really matter, does it? How are we doing? So we're about 130 miles, 140 miles out. If we just have a look at the chart here, we probably need to start descending fairly soon. We'll be into the approach soon. Ah, we can see the top of the clouds again. Hurrah! Let's leave it behind us. We'll see what we just come through. The weather modelling is just spectacular, isn't it? Even the heat blur is really nicely done. Right. So just in case you haven't seen this before, when we come down towards New York, there is Laguardia. We are going to fly down and you will see there are a number of waypoints there. This actually turns off earlier. We're going to go manual from the point we come through Pachu and fly in across here. We want to be over dials at 2,500 feet. We turn right along the expressway and then around the back of the stadium down here and the park with the water feature, and swoop into runway 31. Although saying that wind, let's have a look at the wind on the ground at Laguardia. So 180 degrees, 15 knots, gusting 22. So it would have been a crosswind on either runway. So it's going to be a crosswind on perhaps one of the more dangerous airfields to do a visual approach, and we've only just got, what did the clouds say again? So that was the wind. Cloud is few clouds. It's not too bad. Scattered 7,500. So few clouds at 1,000 feet. Scattered 7,500. Overcast at 10,000. So we're going to be fine. So we're just turning in towards the point at which we start descending. We have to be above 19,000 at Skippy. Okay, so if we go and tell the aircraft to bring us down now to 10,000 feet to begin with, because that's where we'll need to start decelerating, and we'll say manage it yourself to get there, and then it should abide by the restrictions along the way. So we'll pull the flight plan up so we get to see them. So you can see 19,000 feet at Skippy, 17 at Bessie. So we'll see what it does. So it started descending. If if it doesn't descend steeply enough.
As you may have noticed, we have begun our initial descent down to our destination. Now would be a good time to wrap up any business you need to take care of as we
Let the pilot make his announcement.
If you are up, once you return to your seat, we ask that you remain seated until the aircraft arrives safely at the gate. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for a ride.
So as you can see, the aircraft isn't coming down tremendously steeply, but we'll wait and see. So we've got 3 miles, 2 miles to go with 19,000, got 13 miles to go until 17,000 feet. So I think we'll leave it alone. It looks like the plane's coming down in plenty of time. Zoom in a bit further so we get to see more of these waypoints rendered onto the display. So looking at this, Bessie is 17,000, which is the one coming up here, and we're just coming down through 20, so yeah, we're looking good. Remember, we will need some time to slow down though. So we're coming down towards 18,000 feet. When we go through 18, we will go for off of standard barometric pressure, and we will switch to the destination. So let's go and find that out. Laguardia weather is 999 hectopascals, 29.49 inches. So just coming down through 20,000. So we push this to get the normal, and we want 999. There we go, 999 hectopascals. And it is slowing its descent for the 17,000, so it is adhering to the restrictions. So the next step will be 13,000 at Davies. So as soon as we get past Bessie, it should start descending again, all on its own. And there it should go. Is it going to start descending? Yes, it is. Very nice. Aiming for a target of 10,000 feet, and that's where we will decelerate. It may well decelerate all on its own then, if that's the case. So let's tell it to come down to... Well, let's just go and check the route first. So it wants us above 3,000 feet at Pachu, that's fine. And then above 20, so we'll say go for 2,500 feet and see what it does. So we'll tell the aeroplane, do what you want to do to get to 2,500 feet, and we'll let it handle speed and deceleration on its own. So it speeds on managed mode, so it should get to 10,000 feet and start decelerating. Very cool. Unexpectedly clever. So you can see Pachu's just coming on the edge of here. So we want to be 2,500 feet around this area and down to obviously approach speeds by then. But I will go manual once we're over New York. Okay, here we go into the icing conditions again. So it's actually no, it's plus 11 out there. So let's go and take off the icing controls now. We don't need them. Remember, below 10,000 feet we'll need the landing lights back on. Civil aviation aircraft have landing lights on below 10,000. All looking good so far. It will all look good until I take control, having not flown the 330 at all. Well, since months ago when I last flew it on a test flight. This is a bit bright, isn't it? Should we turn it down a bit? because it's overcast outside, it makes it really super bright in the cockpit, which is not great. There we go, that's better. Yeah, and this is super bright as well. Turn it down to help us out a little bit. Just tinkering now, aren't they? Okay, so we can see we're still coming down 12,000 feet and descending. So we should see the speed target change down to 250 knots once we get to 10,000 feet. It'd be interesting to see. Yeah, it's going to stop at 11. Look, it's doing a managed descent. Was there a limit at 11? Yes, there was. Look, above 11,000 at Brand, which we are just approaching. So it's not going to do, and it's also, yeah, so it's used that as an opportunity to slow down. So it's doing that all on its own. So the engines have been spooled right back to idle almost. Or, yeah, they are, look, they're at idle. And now it's pulling the engines back up. So that's the demand on the engines versus the return from the engines. You can see it actually illustrated on the graphs there. Very cool. Okay, so we're now doing 250 knots, 11,000 feet, and then we'll start descending again once we go through Corrie, then down towards Pachu. So literally all I've done is set the altimeter. This has all been on managed mode all the way so far, which is a really good test that the Airbus can do it, to be honest. We're about to come through 10,000 feet, so I need to go and get the landing lights on. I'll do a little bit early. Should have a look outside. So the weather forecast at Laguardia said that the cloud base was 10,000, didn't they? And there was just a few, or broken cloud at 7.5, and a few clouds at 1,000 feet. We're running into a lot of other traffic here, which is kind of scary. Yeah. And it's within a few thousand feet of us, which is why we're being warned. This one's going to be particularly close. He's getting closer and closer to us, and he's only 10 miles away. Same height as us now. Now he's diverging away from us. That's fine then. If it hadn't been for the cloud, we might have seen him. So I don't know what they were on about with the 10,000 ceiling, but yeah, that's not what we're seeing, is it? Maybe it's changed. I'm hoping we do come down through it. Is this the bottom of it we're coming up to? Because otherwise you're not going to see much on the way in, which would be a bit of a shame. We should have New York over to the left. Ooh. Is this a false dawn? Let's keep half an eye on it. We should see New York come rumbling into view if we do come through the cloud. I don't think this has a working weather radar yet, does it? No, there's no button for it. There's terrain radar, but no weather radar yet. Well, not that I'm aware of. It would be down here, wouldn't it? So manual is on minimum at the moment. Put it onto auto. Don't think it works. Are we going to get to see out the bottom of the cloud yet? Today would be good. We're down to 3,500 feet. This is not funny anymore. Is it still obeying the 3,000 limit? Yeah, it's going to hit the 3,000 limit and fly in at 3,000 feet, which is fine, but not for us. I may have to intervene if we're still going to do this approach and change the weather. We are in the rain now though, so this is the lower levels of that cloud. Well, hopefully it is. So if you remember, we want to be 2,500 feet at Pachu. So let's see what happens. See if we get a sudden view of the airfield when we get to Pachu. Or if we have to make a decision, change runways and go for 04, which we could still do. So maybe we get the ILS tuned in just in case. 110.5 and 45 degrees. So 110.5. I'm going to go and tune in the nav radio just in case. So 110.50 on the landing system. Course was 44 degrees. Does it want it as 044? Nope. Okay, we'll ignore the course then. Just going to start slowing down anytime soon. We don't want to be going this fast when we get into the final approach. So if you take note of where we are, we're just coming in over the Sandy Hook Bay, and we'll go across Brooklyn, and we'll be looking for, on our flight plan it will say Shea, but we're actually looking for Dials, which is where we turn right. It's marked by 2 water towers on the ground. Obviously if we can't see them though, that's going to be a problem for us. So where does the 3,000 foot limitation run out? It's at Pachu, so just before Shea. We got some speed limits here, so 180 knots. So we should see this airplane losing some speed in a minute. If it doesn't, I'm going to get on the spoilers in a pretty big hurry and take manual control. Otherwise this is going to be hilarious. Picked the day to do this, didn't I? Right, I am going to intervene here and go to 180 knots now. I'm going to start preparing as if I'm going to have to take over. We're going to use the spoilers to get to 180 knots a bit more quickly. And we are going to ask the airplane to go to 2,500 feet now. So we're going to go for the first stage of flaps We're still letting the aircraft steer itself, but once we get between Patchu and Shea, we'll take over. Because this is a visual approach. There's no way we can do this if this weather remains like this. So we may end up switching to landing system and using the radios. Oh no, we can see the ground. At 2,500 feet we can just see the ground. I think we're going to get away with it. Yeah, there's the shoreline. There's the bridge. Oh my word. In the absolute nick of time, we've just seen enough to be able to navigate. We will be able to see the towers. So, get down.
Please prepare for landing.
I'm going to tell everybody to sit down and put their where's the switch for the seat belts? Can strap themselves in. So you can see the ground down there now. Okay. Autopilot off, auto throttle off.
$2,500. 2,500.
Just learning where the throttle detent is. So we'll shorten this up to 10 miles now. So you should see fairly soon the towers that I was talking about. Of course they're not going to stand out. I'm just dropping down a little bit so we get to see them. Wow, doesn't New York look... It's a bit of a cloudy day, but we're okay for the approach after all, which is good. There's the towers. So usually you aim for the towers, yeah, or you aim just to the right of them. You're aiming to be in line with runway 04, but then you keep an eye on the towers. When you get parallel with them, or when they go out of view basically beneath your nose, you turn right and you will see the expressway. But we are going to go back into cloud, which is not going to be fun, so we'll actually be using the expressway as visual. But we can see the airfield, which is good. So we can begin our right turn now along the expressway. Or we would if we could see it. And there's the expressway. You see it? Looks like a grey river down below us. So we'll be looking to drop to 1,000 feet by the time we get to somewhere we can't see at the moment, which is kind of really useful. I'm going to put some air spoilers on so we can come down a little bit more steeply. So I'm just double checking things. Gear is down, landing lights are on. We're looking good. So we follow the expressway. We come down to 1300. We're a little bit high for where we are. There's a park down here with a water fountain which you can't really see very well. So there's the water. coming down to 1,000 feet, which is perfect. Getting a bit slow. So I'm just spinning the engines up a little bit, and then we begin our descent and our turn round towards
1,000.
So let's go and sit up. Ooh, the sim stuttered there massively, didn't it?
1,000.
There's the runway. So normally this is the visual approach. This has not been visual today. This has been past experience, knowledge,
500.
Too low.
and
terrain.
our wits.
Too low. Terrain.
400. 300. 200.
Stutters. That's loading aircraft in the background.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
And we're down. Look at it skidding. Okay. Flaps up. Spoilers up. Come off the high-speed exit. Okay, that was interesting. I have no idea where I'm parking, by the way. I haven't even thought about that. But that was the A330, the Headwind A330. It still seems incredibly light to me, but then I probably had no payload on board, so I can't really judge too much. But it's based on the fly-by-wire A320 base, and they basically put an enormous model on it and tweaked it to become an A330. Where are we going to park then? I think they'll let us in somewhere. There's no spaces, are there? Whoa. You can see I could do with a bit of practice at taxiing. I'm going to park down the end of here behind this lot and just leave it on the apron over here. It really doesn't like drawing mist, does it? Really taxes the simulator enormously. Okay, parking brakes on. Obviously we have no external power available, so we'll have to go and start the APU. Should have already done that as soon as we came off the runway. We should have taken the landing lights off as well, and the taxi lights can go to off. The beacon light stays on until the engines are off. Strobes can come off though. Okay, so we just wait for the APU to come up to speed. If we want to see what the APU is doing, you can see at the moment it says 0 here. If you want a more detailed view of the APU, we can click on APU here, and we get you can see it spinning up. So it should be there soon, and then we can shut the engines and not have to worry. There we go. So APU's running, it's 100% available. So engines can go off. So the engines are now spooling down. And we can start turning other things off. So beacon light comes off. Leave the nav light on while we are in the aircraft. Seatbelt signs off. The emergency light comes off. The pumps can be turned off now. The IRS system can be turned off. The crew supply can be turned off. And we're pretty much there. There's not much to do in an Airbus, to be honest, to switch off. Seatbelt signs are off. The arming is off. Yeah, we've done most of it. So in terms of switches, we turn the predictive wind shear back off. I think we're... Oh, okay, we could turn the brightness down on everything if we really wanted to. Okay, so once you're comfortable that everything's off, you can turn the APU back off, and then it's just the batteries. And we are cold and dark once again. So hopefully you enjoyed that. That's the Headwind Airbus A330. It's a free download. So if you search for it on Google, you'll find it, or on flightsim.to. And I'll see you again soon.